friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist, and today we are going to be talking all skin prep, specifically for use with Seint IIID Foundation or Demi. We're going to touch on a little bit about skincare, but do you need a primer with this makeup? What if I'm oily? What if I need better longevity? What if I have dry spots? So we're gonna touch a little bit about skin type because it makes a big difference. And I'm gonna share all of my recommendations based on what you need and your preference. So if you wanna check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and thanks for being here. Friends, let's get right on into it. Believe it or not, I don't think I've ever done a dedicated skin prep video in the past 7 years as an artist. And I've talked about all of these things, but never all at the same time. So I'm trying to figure out, should I go by skin type or should I go by category? They overlap so much. So let's start with skincare. Because when it comes to skin prep, let's be honest, your makeup will never be a 10 if your skincare is a 1 or a 0. If you're not taking care of your skin, our cream makeups especially, cream makeup is just not gonna sit well on the skin. I personally think no makeup will sit well on the skin, but let me tell you, I learned the hard way when I first started wearing this makeup that I needed to up my skincare game. The main reason why my before and afters look completely different than they did when I first started was because I went from 0 skincare routine to now being a skin enthusiast. I love my skincare. I'm not wearing an ounce of makeup, and I'm very happy with how my skin looks because it's better than 7 years ago, right? So to get your makeup to lay on your skin in the best way possible, there's a few things you need to do. Step 1 is if you're not currently exfoliating regularly. When I get customers asking me about texture with the makeup, the number one thing I ask is, how often do you exfoliate? Now, with 3D Foundation, it can be a color issue if you're using especially a color too light. But usually, it's because as we age, our skin cells stop turning over as frequently. I can notice a difference just in the last couple years. Every year it slows down even more so. And so you have to kind of help get that dead skin cells to kind of got to help it along the way. And so if you've never maybe used an acid exfoliator before, I didn't until I started wearing this makeup, and it is a game changer. I won't get into all the different acids, but if you've never used one before, I would say start with just a weekly treatment if you've done no exfoliation. So this is a new find, a new brand, Dr. Idris. This is her Major Fade Flash Mask. It is an AHA mask. It has glycolic and lactic, but it also has glycerin, so it's hydrating at the same time. You can just put this on for a few minutes if you're brand new, but then you can work your way up to the 10 to 15 minute mark. Put it on, wash it off. Consider this like your Sunday ritual so that all week your makeup will sit better on the skin. You're like, Sarah, I love my chemicals. Then you can go up to a daily. I notice I get texture on my nose every couple of days if I'm not using this. And so I have very sensitive rosacea prone skin, so I tend to gravitate towards a PHA. Again, find one for your skin type depending on what you can tolerate. So the Medicate Press and Glow, I love because I can use this every day and it's gentle enough and it keeps that annoying texture, if you know what I'm talking about. It's like usually chin and nose, sometimes right here. Something like this daily in the mornings after your morning cleanse or after a micellar water. This can be a game changer for how your makeup sits on the skin. Now, this is an OG ride or die. When I started with Seint, I discovered this, and for someone who had very problematic skin, this is gentle enough, and I use it still to this day, 7 years later, every 3 days. like clockwork. And if I miss a day, I can't stand the feeling of my face. If you've tried it, you know what I'm saying. Like, it's a holy grail. I will never go without this product. So this is Cure. I use it in the shower every 3 days. If you're really struggling with like getting that natural glow to your skin and you're feeling texture, I highly recommend using an exfoliant, a chemical exfoliant, and then the next day use Cure in the shower. I'm telling you, that combination, this breaks the bonds between all those dead skin cells. This gently, manually gets it off your face. The combination is magical. That is why my skin always is glowing. It doesn't have a layer of dead skin on it. It's truly that simple. Another thing I started when I first started wearing this makeup, cream makeup, there's something about it like where you notice, because it has that glowing finish, obviously it's going to show your skin texture more. And I think that's why people kind of notice these things when they never noticed it before with a heavier matte foundation. Like, I noticed peach fuzz, right? So like, I wanted the smoothest finish possible for my foundation. And so I started dermaplaning my face. And so this is when you take a razor. The Jill razor is great. It's made for women. I used Tinkles for years. And you just gently take off the peach fuzz. Your makeup will lay better on the skin. It gently exfoliates that dead skin as well. And it actually helps that all those skincare ingredients penetrate better as well, because you're not gonna have bacteria trapped in that hair. It's gonna be able to get down into your skin a lot better. So it has so many benefits. No, the wives' tales are not true. It doesn't grow in darker or thicker. Like, you can't see mine. I shaved weeks ago. So I do this probably once a month, maybe 2 times if I have an event. This gives an immediate glow as well. Highly recommend. So step 1, exfoliate. Whatever that looks like to you, you gotta exfoliate for a good skin prep. I'm not gonna get into a long-winded morning and evening skincare routine. I have a gazillion videos on skincare. And if you need help, you can always reach out to me. Just email me at sarah@thecontouredchemist.com. I help people with their skincare routines all the time. So I would say, if anything, I'm simple, right? We're putting on our makeup in the morning. You need to gently cleanse with either water, micellar water, or a gentle cleanser, and moisturize. That is the 2 steps that I would say everyone needs to do in order to get a nice canvas of their skin. You can always add vitamin C if you want to step it up a notch, but if you're gonna be as simple as possible, you need to hydrate. I think we can probably all guess that like dry skin will never let makeup sit on it as well as hydrated skin, because when your skin is hydrated, it's bouncier, your fine lines are plumped, and again, you can get that glow. I'm telling you, you'll be able to wear less makeup. So first I'm gonna go over moisturizers. Now, you guys probably heard me a million times. I don't use a separate moisturizer in the morning. I have normal skin. This is for those of you that maybe you've tried just using a sunscreen and it's not enough for you. I'm gonna go based on skin type, some of my very favorites. Okay, the hardest for people to wrap their brains around is oily skin. If you're oily, that does not mean you don't need hydration. A lot of oily skin is actually caused because your skin is reacting to moisture loss. Like, it needs hydration, and so your sebum production actually gets ramped up. And so you can try to hydrate and see if your levels kind of balance out over time. But texture is huge when it comes to choosing a moisturizer and a sunscreen. And if you're oilier, you don't want a heavy moisturizer that's high in emollients. You wanna stick to the hydrating ingredients like humectants, like glycerin. This is why I recommend a gel type texture for oily skin. Okay, so this is Versed Dew Point, I can't even talk, Moisturizing Gel Cream. Okay, so look out for these gel type textures because guess what? They go on in a really nice thin layer and they absorb super quickly. They're not gonna add to any oily or heavy feeling. The trick is finding it without silicones. So my number one, if you get anything from this video, is when you are prepping your skin, you need to look for these ingredients. These are silicones. Now, silicones are not a bad ingredient, not at all. They have their purpose in skincare formulation. But when it comes to our cream makeup, if you have a really heavy, like this, for example, this is pure silicone. If you have this really, if you've ever tried a pure silicone product or like a pore filling primer that's silicone based, it has this really silky, smooth texture to it. And it feels beautiful. Like that's why it's added to so many products. It has a great sensory thing, and part of skincare formulation is they want you to want to apply it over and over again, right? So it feels great. It makes your skin feel great. But if you're applying something like this that's really slippery on your skin, and then you put the cream makeup on, you're gonna notice within a couple hours, it's just gonna like be gone. So I've had customers say, it looks like my skin is eating the makeup. It just is like completely disappeared. Like if your contour, lip and cheek, all of it is gone, and it's not just like one area of your face that, you know, might be darker or something. It's like your legit whole face. It's definitely silicones. And I have found over the years that some people might be able to use certain ones that maybe are really down in an ingredient list. So when you're checking an ingredient deck, know that the ones at the top are what make up majority of that product. And ones at the bottom are gonna be in smaller amounts, right? So if you see one of those silicone-based ingredients towards the bottom, it might not affect yours. Now, with anything, everyone's skin is different. You have to try it. So what I do is I'm always looking for completely silicone-free products to recommend for you guys. I'll know without a shadow of a doubt, it's not going to create any longevity issues for you. And if we have to troubleshoot, I know I can just take that out as a factor, right? So there are a lot of great silicone-free stuff, and I will even link down below in the caption a list of all silicone-free things that I've found that are great to work under Seint, and it's constantly being updated. So you can check that out. I also have some favorites that I'm gonna share that might have one or even two silicone derivatives that I haven't found to affect my skin or some of my clients' skin. But again, read your labels. If you see dimethicone, that's the worst. If it's within the top 3, don't even attempt it. I'd say if it's right in the middle, maybe, but if you have a bunch of silicone ingredients at the top, that means it's silicone based. Like this one is all 3 different kinds of silicone. This is designed to even go under your makeup. No, like that. It wouldn't last 5 minutes if you put this under your makeup. So I'll share more on that at the end. But silicone free is numero uno. Okay, so all of these products I'm gonna share are gonna be silicone free. And the first one is this one for oily skin. It can be a little bit harder to find silicone free things for oily skin. I'll just give you a heads up. Some of my favorite things have been discontinued, unfortunately. So that is Versed Dew Point, right? Then I'm gonna go into normal skin. So if you have tried a sunscreen, because most normal people might not need extra moisture, but in the winter, I will pay attention to my skin. And if my skin is feeling a little bit dry when the heat is going and my skin needs extra hydration, I will layer one of these under my sunscreen. Okay, so first, high end. This one is amazing. It's just a little bit pricier. This is the Matter of Fact Minimalist Hydrating Moisturizer, okay? So if you want one that also has a lot of vitamins and lipids and my favorite, Centella. Can you guys tell I buy everything with that in it? No, this one is more of a daytime moisturizer in my opinion, because it's not quite so thick. It is thicker than a gel, but it is not like a cream. It works really well under the makeup. So that is matter of fact. But I would say if you're not knowing like where you stand as far as skin type goes, there is a test you can do. Get up in the morning, wash your face with a gentle cleanser. I'm talking like where your face doesn't feel squeaky clean or tight afterwards, really gentle, but wash it, water, whole thing, not too hot of water. Obviously that can also make your skin feel dry, but a gentle cleanser, and then wait 1 hour and then feel your face, okay? If you're shiny in the T-zone, but not in your cheeks, you're probably a combination skin, meaning you're oily here, maybe normal to dry there. If you are tight anywhere or dry or flaky looking, then you might be dry skin. Normal skin means your face is the same all over. And a lot of people have multiple types of skin on their face, and that's completely normal. You can go in with a moisturizer only where needed. So if you're oily in the T-zone, and you're like, I don't need anything there, but my cheeks are dry, just put a moisturizer on there. There's nothing to say that you can't treat different parts of your face differently, okay? So if you don't know where you stand, I would do the test, and this one is like one of the most, what is that new trend? The unsexy favorites. This is not sexy, but it is really good. Vanicream. Great for sensitive skin, free of like legit everything. And it is one of the best hydrating moisturizers you can get. And it is drugstore and dirt cheap. And it is just a great, and I feel like it is such a light texture that anyone could use this, even oily girls. But I would say normal. And if you have tried this and you are still feeling dry, then you must have more like very dry skin, because I think this would even work for partially dry skin, if that makes sense. It's just really good. Really, really good. Loaded with ceramides, glycerin, squalane. I mean, very simple, but effective. Okay, next real quick is my dry skin girlies. And I'll be honest, I don't have dry skin. But I love both of these products. I tend to use them at night because I like to use heavier moisturizers at night so that I wake up with really hydrated skin. But if I had dry patches, I would probably use these. And if you have just dry skin that like kind of you feel like is soaking up moisturizers, then try something like this. It's a little bit more occlusive. So this one is a new find. It's N Beauty's Extreme Cream Firming and Lifting Moisturizer. And this has got so many great products, or so many great ingredients in it, that I use this at night a lot because it's got bioretinol, peptides, ceramides. It's very much an anti-aging formulation. So, and as we age, our skin gets drier and drier. So it makes sense. You're gonna need something a little bit more hydrating. So if you can tell, I keep putting moisturizer everywhere. I'm like, it is I don't know if you can tell from here, but it is a much thicker cream. I'm telling you, it's very hydrating. This is amazing, and I don't have dry skin, but when I went to Mexico, I took this as my only moisturizer, and my skin was so happy. So I don't use it in the morning, but this is the Dr. Sam's Flawless Moisturizer Intense. Now they do have two other versions as well. That's like one step down and then like a really light version, like kind of like magic in this, because it's very hydrating, but it doesn't leave like a super glowy tint to it. So I'd say if you have dry skin, but you don't like the dewy look, I don't know, something about this. Do you see how it dries down and isn't super shiny? Does that make sense? Some people are very anti-shiny, whereas I'm like, give me all the glow ever. if you don't like shiny, I don't know. It's amazing. Of course it has Centella in it. It's so good. I would highly recommend to anyone to this moisturizer. So good. Okay, so you don't necessarily need a moisturizer, like I said. I don't wear one in the summer. I live in a very humid state and I don't need all of that. I try to stick with lighter textures like an essence or a spray or a mist or something like that. One serum and then I'm like going in to my sunscreen. And nowadays sunscreens are very hydrating. A sunscreen is typically a moisturizer base, so you don't have to necessarily think you don't need both, okay? But please know, sunscreen is always last. I've had people argue with me about this. It's always last. Moisturizer, then sunscreen. The reason why is because your sunscreen works by forming a film. That is how sunscreens are formulated. They have film formers in them, so that's why you have to put it on and you have to let it set long enough for that film to form over your face. Otherwise, when you go right in directly with your makeup, guess what? You're gonna move that sunscreen and you're no longer gonna have protection. And especially with cream makeup or if you're buffing a lot, that's how sunscreens protect you. Okay, so sunscreens are always last. Now, let's go over by skin type. We'll start with oily again because that's the hardest to find. It is so hard to find sunscreens for oily skin. I'm sorry. This is the only one I found so far. If you guys know of one, please let me know because I want to add to that list as much as I can. Because I know everyone's personal preference is really different and some people try this and it's their holy grail and then some people still don't like it and I'd love to have more suggestions for them. Without having oily skin, it's hard for me to test these because they feel so dry to me. But this is the La Roche-Posay. They have a lot of sunscreens, so please, this is the only one. Their Athenios Clear Skin Dry Touch Sunscreen. So it's originally like designed for like oily acne prone skin, but it gives a dry touch, meaning, let's see where I've got an arm. It dries down, okay, and it blends in great. It dries down matte. That dry touch means as soon as it's like dry, it feels dry and it's gonna look dry. And so if you do not like if you don't like that super glowy look, I always say you need to choose your sunscreen based on preference and your skin type, okay? So if you have oily skin or you like a matte finish, okay? This is your girl right here. For normal skin, probably my top pick would be this Crave Beauty Beat the Sun. It goes on like a moisturizer. It feels like a moisturizer. It's one of the few completely, like it blends in super fast, no white cast. It just feels hydrating, but like in a thin way. It's definitely for normal skin. It's considered lightweight and it's got hyaluronic acid, so it's hydrating. This one is so good, especially for an American sunscreen. It's really good. Now, the next one is more of your budget-friendly find because you can get this at any Walgreens, Target, CVS. It's so cheap, it's like 10 bucks. It is only SPF 30, which is, I feel like the only downfall, but still plenty because it's UVA and UVB. 12-hour moisturization, I can't talk, oil-free. This one is very hydrating, especially when you use the full amount that you need. This one is not wanting to pump, but it is a little bit thicker, I would say, than the Crave Beauty, but look how nicely that goes in. It does have that kind of like suntanny tropical scent, so if you don't like fragrance, you might not like it, but for the price, if you have normal skin and you're looking for a hydrating sunscreen, this is definitely worth a try. Okay, the next one is for anyone who hates sunscreen. This one's so good. This is the Naked Sundays Water Gel Serum. It is a legit serum and it's SPF 50. So if you hate like that lotiony feel, this one is still hydrating, but look at that. It just goes on like a serum. So I can still use this, and I have normal skin and without a moisturizer, and I'm good. Now, if you try it and it's, I still don't think it's gonna be drying, because it is, again, it says a semi-matte finish. So I call a semi-matte finish a natural finish, not super glowy, not matte. This is also hyaluronic acid, so it is also hydrating. Now, just because you don't have normal skin doesn't mean you can't use this, because if you have dry skin, you could use one of these dry skin good moisturizers and then just put this over it. If you have oily skin, you could just use this and then set your makeup differently. There are different methods of like combinations to where you can use an SPF, maybe kind of your favorite formulation, even if I'm not saying it's specifically for your skin type. I hope that makes sense. I just ordered, and it should be here any minute now, a new mineral sunscreen. If you guys have been following me a while, you know I prefer chemical sunscreens because the formulations are just much more elegant. They spread on nicely, they disappear, they don't give a white cast. And mineral formulations tend to be more, they have to be tinted to kind of hide the white cast, or they can go on chalky, and they aren't my personal favorite. But again, it's personal preference. And if you have reactions to chemical filters where your skin is too sensitive, maybe you have rosacea, but your rosacea gets inflamed by chemical sunscreens, then minerals. Mineral is the way to go. Otherwise, there's no reason to use a mineral over a chemical. Everything you see on social media is misinformation when it comes to that. I see it every single day where people don't understand the difference between the two filters. Based on evidence, mineral and chemical filters work the same way. You don't have to pick one or the other unless you have a sensitivity. So if that one gets I get to test it in time, I will put it below because it is supposed to be amazing. It just won an award and I'm very excited to try it. But alas, I only have two that are completely silicone free that I've tested. The cocoa kind, this is the daily SPF. They also have a chemical version, but this is their mineral one. It is a little bit more drying, and it does have a slight white cast. You see how it just takes a little bit longer to get rid of it, and I barely put any. So just know that. And then Kosas Dream Beam, they also just came out with a glowy version. I haven't tried that one, but this one, I just have to be careful with what I put on under it because it does tend to pill on me a little bit more. But it has this kind of like pink hue. So I don't know if it'll be good for darker skin tones, but on me it blends in really well. This one definitely gives more of a glowy look, and this one's a little bit more matte. But again, you can still use the sunscreen that you prefer, and we can switch up how we set our makeup depending on the finish you prefer. But if you know you like really glowy makeup, you can pick a sunscreen that will give you a glowy finish under your makeup, and it's just gonna give you that much more of an effect. Like, I don't recommend using a glowy under base, if you will. If you like a matte finish, it's gonna be harder to then fully make that matte. Does that make sense? Okay, so ones that have silicone in them but are still holy grail status to me is the Supergoop's Glow Screen. Now, this does have, I think maybe 2 silicones. It isn't silicone based, but there is a couple in them. I think one is technically volatile, meaning it evaporates immediately anyway. So again, you'd have to test it for your skin. I like to switch between Golden Hour and the original Sunrise, I believe it's called. Why it's not on the bottle. But I have like 4 bottles in my cabinet right now, if that tells you anything. This is usually what I'm wearing when I put on my makeup. If you want glowing skin and you don't have it naturally yet, this is a great way to fake it. Like, legit, fake it till you make it. It's no secret that the best sunscreens in the world are Korean. They have different filters. They are harder to get, But like, don't go ordering them off of Amazon, they're fakes. But if you go through the proper channels to order them, which I will link down below of legit ones, these are my 4 favorite. Each one has a silicone or 2 in it, but I've tested them all and they are okay for my skin. But I will be honest, I usually don't reach for these on when I know I'm putting on makeup and I want it to last all day. I typically wear my glow screen. I grab these when I am going to a baseball game. I'm not wearing makeup, or I am just gonna be on vacation. I go through bottles of these, and these are my 4 favorites. So Beauty of Joseon, this Round Lime Isentry, and the Skin 1004 Madagascar Centella, the Hyalusica Water Fit Sunscreen. Just the textures of these can't be beat. Like, they're literally like serum moisturizers. All 4 of these are extremely hydrating, and they're just superior in my opinion. So I recommend, if you want to try one, trying it under the makeup and seeing if it works for you. If you're noticing you're having longevity issues, then just keep it for beach pool days and you know, find one that works better under the makeup, but you might be surprised. It will depend on your skin. Okay, so I went through all of my sunscreens. Sunscreen should be the last thing you put on. Trust me, if you want your makeup to look and sit nicely on the skin, then you care if you're gonna have a giant scar across your face from skin cancer. Just wear your SPF every day. Don't use anti-aging products unless you're going to protect it every day. Can you tell? It's a pet peeve. Like, this is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. My scar is healing pretty nicely, but I had melanoma. Like, I bathe in sunscreen now. Like, if I'm going outside, you better believe all of this is just sun damage from a lot of years of baby oil in the 80s, 90s. You guys know what I'm talking about. Reason why I went into sunscreens in so much detail is because sunscreen, I believe, is the only primer you need for this makeup. If you find a sunscreen for your skin type with the finish you want, that will be your holy grail. That is all you need. And you do not need a primer with this makeup. I wholeheartedly believe that with every fiber of my being, but there are some special circumstances where other products can help you. But this makeup was designed that you don't need a primer. So you really shouldn't need anything to more or less give you better longevity under the makeup. Like, if you're using the right kind of sunscreen, so many sunscreens, I mean, like, this is marketed as a makeup gripping primer. Like, so many are marketed and have that technology where if you feel like it's a little tacky, that is the makeup gripping technology that they're trying to make stuff stick to it better. I'll share a couple, but I will be honest, they're not my personal preference. So let's go into every skin type first. Let's stick with the hardest. Oily skin. Oh, I can't tell you. I think first it was Becca, then it was Honest. Both of these discontinued. It is so hard to find stuff for oily skin that is silicone free. And I don't know why. I really don't know why, but I found one, a newer one. This is just the sample size, but I've been testing it. And I even liked it, even on vacation. Like, if you're looking for something to blur pores, 99% of what you're looking at is going to be silicone-based products, because silicone is what gives that blurring effect to your skin. Now, I'm also a big believer that once you put makeup on over it, you lose that blur. It works better after. So I'll show you what I prefer for that after your makeup's on. But this, I'm gonna be using this in the summer when I feel like the humidity is just kind of out of control, because here in Missouri, it gets that way. This is the Pore Eclipse Mattifying Primer by Milk Makeup. And let me tell you, this is the best I found that is silicone free for oily skin. I don't recommend putting it all over. I only recommend putting it on where you want to either blur pores or mattify your face. So I don't know if you'll be able to see or not. Can you see? Now this mattifies without silicones. Usually this type of stuff has silica in it. Silica is not the same thing. Silica actually absorbs sweat and oils. So when you see silica, that is okay. So this one for oily skin, most definitely. It is a primer, but you can put on your sunscreen. You might find that this isn't enough for you and just kind of use this only where you're oily, or maybe only in summer when it's like extra hot and humid. Oily girls, or if you have trouble with large pores, this can help. Okay, so this is a new find and I've been testing it. In fact, I will post over on Instagram my full day wear test with this. I think this is better for girls like me that just maybe want a little bit of oil control, but not so strong. So this is better for oily skin. This is better for maybe just a little bit. This is the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Water Powder Serum, mattifying and priming face serum. Obsessed with the packaging. It's very cool. You just kind of tilt it and do a drop and kind of pat this on. I just don't feel like it blurs as much. I can see myself using this more so like no makeup days and just kind of pressing it on here without makeup. So I don't know if you can tell. Like it will a little bit, when I felt like once I put makeup on and throughout the day, I kind of lost the effect, but it's water-based, no silicones. So it is an option to try. And then the next one kind of goes hand in hand with oily skin, but we're going sweaty. What if you just sweat a lot, especially in summer, or you're in a humid climate and you feel like your makeup just is like, just sweat, right? You need that extra sweat absorption, not necessarily oil, but same premise. This is silica that works. Now, Carpe has a face primer. Do not grab that one. That one is silicone based. This is the only one that is formulated with no silicones. This is their sweat absorbing face lotion. But you can use it as a primer. So still put on your sunscreen and then just put this on where you're prone to sweating. I'm telling you, in baseball season, I've put this on the back of my neck. It absorbs sweat. It's really cool. So if you just happen to sweat, this could be a great option under the makeup. Okay, let's go opposite. Okay, Sarah, I'm not sweaty, but I've got dry spots that tend to just like cling on makeup. Okay, so I will say a quick fix using something like this. So I have this big spot of hyperpigmentation and it's kind of under control right now, but if you have large spots like this, you might notice the texture of that spot is different and it tends to be drier, and sometimes makeup will cling to it or look cakey on that spot. And these little razors can be so good for just taking off that dead skin and just kind of like giving it that smooth finish again so makeup doesn't cling to it, okay? Then I would find something that's gonna kind of hydrate. So I've always told people, like, if you have normal skin, put on your sunscreen, wait 15 minutes, let that film form, and then go in with your makeup. If you have dry skin, you can go in with a little bit of moisturizer right where you're dry and don't give it much time to absorb. I'm talking like 5 minutes or less. Test it and see what works for you. I find this to be a really good solution for dry spots. This is shielded. It's triple threat treatment. It's a mask, hydrator, and primer. So it's really cool because you can just use this as like a hydrating serum, but you can also like put it on thicker like a mask and then like wipe off excess. But I like it for dry areas. It's this cool little pink serum and it goes on super, it's just super hydrating. So if I need, like if I've got dry spots, I tend to actually get dry right above my eyebrows in winter. Like I will just put this straight on and I'd start with my, routine and put on my eye primer and lip stuff and all that. And by the time it kind of set, just a minute, then it's time for makeup, and it's gonna give me that hydrated, smooth finish instead of clinging to dry skin. So if you have dry spots, shielded. And I think I even have a discount code, so I'll put all that down below. Now, here's a topic I don't actually ever talk about because I live in the Midwest. But if you don't know, I went to graduate school in New York. So I know a little bit about what it's like to live somewhere where you really want to wash the day off and you want to protect your skin. And you'll see that some companies have like this anti-pollution technology. And that's the only time I would say you might need an anti-pollution primer. You live in a big city and you want to protect your skin. This has got an anti-pollution shield complex. This is by Grown Alchemist Anti-Pollution Primer. Prebiotic peptide. It's got a lot of great ingredients in it, but this one's actually silicone free. So it's kind of got this like gel formulation. So I feel like it soaks in really good. It kind of gives a slightly matte finish. It has a tiny bit of a scent to it, but it is a little bit more mattifying as well. So say you need humidity control and anti-pollution, I would try something like this alone or under makeup, just that like extra dose of protection, depending on where you live. I'll be honest, I don't probably need it, but still really cool to know that there are options for literally everyone. So I've talked about these before. In fact, I did a whole video I can link below about BB creams. These would be the two I would recommend that are silicone free that you can wear under the makeup. If you maybe want a really light, no makeup day, you can put this on. Again, don't use this as a sunscreen, but put on your sunscreen, then you can put one of these on and then maybe just add a little bit of extra coverage or just bronze. But your bronzer, lip and cheeks, even contour won't fade away because these are silicone free. If you layer it over things that do have silicones in them, can't promise you it won't. Okay, last but not least, I'll be honest, I think I even have a video for this that I haven't posted yet, a comparison between these two. I don't think I really saw much of a difference at all. So longevity. I've seen so many people recommend these primers like it is needed for the makeup. It is not. When you've exhausted all your options and you're having trouble with your makeup still, then I would say you could try it. But the number one thing that's going to cause your makeup to not last is if you're wearing too light of a shade. So if you want the best possible finish to your skin, I usually don't recommend a longevity primer because these are sticky, meaning they're designed to really hold on to the cream, which if you've ever tried to buff on our cream makeup over a really sticky base, it doesn't go on nicely. Like I had issues with kind of patchiness when applying over something like this, and it's because that's just the nature of this kind of primer. I've had customers complain about these, but they heard from another artist that they're supposed to use these. You don't need a longevity primer if you're color matched correctly. I promise you. Last resort. In my opinion, this is a very last resort. You don't need it. But the two I would recommend are both silicone free. One is a dupe for the other one. These are actually my daughter's. Oh, she likes all the trending whatnot. So the Milk Hydro Grip Primer, okay? And then this is the dupe for it, which is the Power Grip from e.l.f. I recommend as a last resort, if you really feel like you need makeup to stay, I would try the e.l.f. one first because it's a very affordable option to try. And if you really love it, the Milk just makes amazing primers, I will be honest. But I will be honest, I find the ones who really like this product don't like the kind of finish I do. So when I recommend applying, I recommend really buffing it so you get a really thin layer across the skin and you can really spread out very little product over a larger area. That's what gives you that skin light look with your makeup with very little product. With a product like this, you can't get that effect because it sticks and then gets patchy. It just doesn't spread because this is very grippy. I don't know if you can see. It's almost like sticky, like not sticky, but tacky, if you will. Okay, so once it dries down, like it just, you can't buff the makeup on over it. You really have to press and stipple the makeup on all over, which we all know when you're pressing on the makeup, it's giving you a heavier hand. So with this type of primer, you're gonna get a heavier hand of makeup. I find those that like more medium to full coverage might like this, and then like setting with a powder to kind of hold it all in place, because when you're applying more makeup, our cream doesn't set, right? So it can still move on the face. You might have to set it with a powder. Okay, so it depends on the look you want, how you're gonna finish your face. Kind of went over the pore filling thing. If pores are an issue for you, this is what I recommend. Not something under the makeup necessarily. Again, I think this is gonna work better on no makeup days, but I would use something like this over the makeup. And this is the Mally Evercolor Poreless Face Defender, pure silicone. And when you put this on, I'll just show you right here. You see how that just mattifies? I mean, you're supposed to put it on with a sponge, but you see how it mattifies those pores, okay? When you put it on over the makeup, it'll blur pores because it takes away that light reflection, okay? That's mainly what silicone does. So this over the makeup for pores, blur fine lines, I recommend something like this, not necessarily something under the makeup. I think your makeup is going to sit the best and spread the best on your face when you just have a great sunscreen as your primer. For your skin type, it allows you to apply your makeup however you want that day. You don't necessarily have to get a full coverage look if that's not what you're wanting. More things that you probably have seen using our setting spray as primer. I'm guilty of even trying this way back when I didn't realize what silicones do with our makeup. But it has dimethicone in it, which, what did I say, is the worst one. I don't recommend it. You shouldn't need it. It's used as a setting similar to SPFs in that they're supposed to form a film over your skin. So they form that film over the makeup to kind of keep it in place. But with silicones in it, they might cause slippage of your makeup. Now, I used to always recommend this one by Good Molecules because it was called Silicone Free Priming Moisturizer. You guys, it got repackaged and renamed, and now it's just called Lightweight Daily Moisturizer or something like that. I'll put it down here. Same formula. It's still silicone free and you can still use it as a moisturizer. Unfortunately, it's just no longer in a pump, it's in a tube. Last but not least, what about eye primers? Eye primers are the one thing I personally do not notice a difference if I have silicones in. I've tested some with or without. My eyeshadow doesn't seem to slip, even though I use a tiny bit of highlight to kind of even out my eyelids. Now, I also really set that with a setting powder. Okay, so maybe that has something to do with it. I do find, fun fact, that a lot of people who use silicones under the makeup can get away with it if they put enough setting powder on their face afterwards. Like those that like loose powder and to really like get a fully matte look when they set their entire face, you might be able to get away with not using a silicone. But that's because you're really setting it. Now, I personally don't want a fully matte look. You guys know I like the glow. So I only set in strategic areas, and I always notice that those areas do have better longevity because you're setting them in place. It makes sense. But I would always recommend using silicone free under the makeup and then just setting with a setting spray and using a setting powder only where absolutely needed, as opposed to your whole face, unless you want a fully matte look. My two favorite eye primers, Urban Decay's Primer Potions, are legendary, cult favorite, but I always use the Thank Me Later by Elizabeth Mott. It works great and it's half the price, and I can get it on Amazon. One tube lasts such a long time. That was a lot of information, and I didn't even put on my makeup yet. I was thinking, I was like, maybe I should put on my makeup and use all these different things on different parts of my face, but I'm like, there's way too many products to test them all in one makeup application, so it's not gonna happen. Just a little recap: exfoliate regularly. Skincare always will give you a better look to your makeup application. My recommendation: finding a sunscreen for your skin type that you don't mind applying every day. That is the key. If you like it and it makes your face look beautiful and protects you, there's nothing better. Like, you will never not want to wear sunscreen again. And as always, if you have any questions over all the other things we talked about, just drop them in the comments below. I'm happy to help. I will link everything I talked about as well down in the caption. I hope that helped get you the perfect skin prep for your makeup. If you're needing help with your 3D foundation or your Demi, fill out my color match questionnaire. It is down in the caption and also in the pinned comment. I'd be happy to help you out, and make sure your issue is not color related. And if you need any other recommendations, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to me via email. And as always, thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you next week. Love you.